the alpha rhythms of the brain is another thing you're saying, you know, has the body got anything to do with it? Well, when you're in alpha rhythm, well, you're coming right into the harmonic, the 7.82 figure. Do you know about the Earth frequencies? The electromagnetic frequency of the Earth is 7.82 hertz, or around that figure. It's, well, I can give you the exact conversion. And this is the range your alpha rhythms work in, your brain patterns. If you put 6954505, which is the gravity harmonic. This is in Earth in grid time, which is 8/9 of normal time. You've got to convert from one to the other. Now we'll save that. Now we divide it by 8, multiply it by 9 to bring it to normal time. And that's what you get, see? 7.82, which is the Earth frequency. So the Earth is actually, the frequency rate of the Earth is the gravity harmonic, which is 695, just in round figures. And that's what your alpha rhythms band is in. So if you could tune by biofeedback, your alpha rhythm, which they can do, to exactly that harmonic, which is the gravity harmonic, I guarantee psychics would be 10 times more powerful. Now the Russians, I don't know whether you've read that they've set up this, what they call Science City. They've got a name for it themselves, of course, but they put all their brilliant children there and brilliant minds, and there's a whole city. Now I checked it on a computer and they put it on one of those points. And they've got all the brilliant people there. And I'm pretty sure they're using this stuff. And the Russians are foremost in psychic abilities and telepathy and all that stuff. So if you pick these points and use biofeedback and tune yourself into this stuff, well, what have you got? You know, it's another interesting thing too. Gestation period for a human, 9 months, 270 days. For what would the most perfect human be born in time? So what about 269.44 days, which is only half a day? Blood heat, right in your blood range in Celsius is 37.1244 degrees Celsius, which is the reciprocal of a unified equation. Now I say if you've got the right blood heat, the right gestation period, you're born on an exact time, and you've got 695 acupuncture points. The DNA cycle, the DNA spiral, is not a full circle. It's got a gap in it. Now, that gap in minutes, if you take the square root of it, I think you get the reciprocal of the speed of light, 695. Your whole body is tuned to these harmonics. And this is another thing, once you become aware of this, you can search for your top psychics and the people with top abilities and most healthy people. I say, if they went through and did an experiment all around the world and picked out all the people that had all those attributes, checked their blood heat, DNA spirals and their birth dates, times and everything, and put them all together, they'd find the healthiest, most intelligent, and you name it, they would be the top people of the world. Space transmitters, now I know it is a major transmitter, and it's built right on one of these points. It gives all those harmonics. And they say it's for something else, but I'm pretty sure that they're talking to the UFO stuff, because they have to have this tuned to those frequencies, because otherwise they can't break through the ionised layer that's around them. They've got to use gravity harmonics. And it's only the gravity frequencies that will breach them. And I'm sure they're talking out in the deep space for this stuff. And I know where the stuff is. And it's there, and you can walk around it, you can drive around it, but you don't know what it is.
Well, wouldn't it be possible to communicate without any of that if you put yourself in the right place at the right time, tuned your own frequencies to the right level, and then send out telepathically?
Well, if you're a perfect psychic, probably yeah. You know, I mean, the Russians have proved it, the Americans have proved it.
It can be done.
It can be done, but to me, I wouldn't try it because I know I couldn't do it. But I'd use a machine of some sort. There are people that can do it. Actually, the Navy, I read another article on the Navy experiments, and with one of these parabolic dishes, big ones the Navy's got, they can pick up the signals coming out of your stomach 30 miles away. The actual radiation coming out of your stomach. You know? And you're broadcasting all the time. And whatever you're thinking is being broadcast. You know, and it's in very, very minute frequencies that they haven't been able to unravel it all yet, but they're still doing it. It's still experimenting. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to put a gadget on your head one day and,
very short
you know, you'll be able to pick it up somewhere else and another gadget on your head.
Bruce, has anyone ever thought about the crop circles in these terms? The frequencies, the crop circles, frequencies picked up there?
Yeah, again, that scientist in England, he sends me information, and they sent me a whole load of data on the crop circles and positions and stuff. But recently they took some BBC people in with microphones and stuff into one of the circles over there, and they actually taped a frequency that was coming out of the centre of one of these places. And he sent it over to me, and I put it on the computer, and I got these harmonics. And it's being broadcast out of one of these circles, you know, out of the centre of the circle there. So I'll probably put it in another book too. But they're leaving pointers behind. Whoever's doing those circles, they're leaving little bits behind, you know, for you to find. And I don't know what all the different hieroglyphics mean, but they must mean something. Somebody's going to unravel it one day. Do you remember the HMS Pueblo incident? Well, here's the map of the incident there. There was, do you remember it was in Time magazine? There was a big fuss, and then they started World War III. The Chinese took an American spy ship out of the water, and no, the Koreans took it out of the water, and they took the crew and they captured the crew, and then eventually they let them go and they went home. Yeah, so the captain's name was Butcher, I think. Butcher, I think. But that was a big fuss, and nobody could understand at the time why the Americans didn't go. They just take them back, you know, or why didn't they do something? They didn't. But the actual latitude in there, and that was published in Time magazine, just given the figures, and you take them back again. And what do you get? You get 648. The square root of that is 2545, which is the in the polar section of the grid, which is the reciprocal of the Earth's magnetic field, and the 3928.371, which is the reciprocal of 2545. That gives you on that latitude and longitude where the boat was flying. They were tuned in. And if you take from the boat to Vladivostok, where the Russians had all this stuff, well, you get another harmonic. You know, the Chinese test grounds where they're letting bombs off, you get another one. So that boat was a position. Well, the Koreans, of course, they knew this, and the Chinese knew it. And I thought, well, God, we're not going to have them listening in. They're right on the spots. We're going to get them. Actually, I gave that to the Americans at the time, and there was a big fuss.
Bruce, I'm trying to come to a kind of interim conclusion. What seems to be, for you, so far, the most crucial figure, or as a principle? We talk about harmonics, we talk about the reciprocal of the speed of light, and so. Have you come to a kind of conclusion?
About what?
In the sense of have you discovered a principle? What does it have to be? Which of these harmonics is the most crucial number or figure at all?
Well, again, it depends what you're doing. It's you've got an infinite range between the maximum and minimum of the speed of light, depending whether you're at the basic gravity figure, which nobody can read because it's produced on the other side of our reality, and you probably can, if you had the right gear, manipulate that harmonic on this side, which is the 2693507 figure. But it depends again where you are, because it'll change with latitude. But the basis of the whole thing is a unified field theory. That's it.
Would those numbers maybe fit into Fibonacci numbers?
Yeah, they're all part of it. Well, Fibonacci numbers give you that 1610834.
They do?
Yeah, but that's when you get to the trough of 30th step, and that's when you feed it in there, you get 269444, the golden section. And you'll find all mathematics, all classical mathematics are not apart from this, they're all part of it. And
nearly all plants and everything that grows.
Yeah, the spiral of the plant is a Fibonacci theory, and golden section, everything, yeah. That's why we eventually get to this growing thing. The harmonics are built in there, and I have to show you all this to show you that the basis is there, everything is there, the scientists are using it, it's being used everywhere. With all that basic stuff. Probably the thing you want to know now is how can you use it for growing things? Yeah. Yes? But I have to tell you all that to give you the basis of it all, as you'll never, I mean, it didn't mean anything. So we come right back to that light and gravity harmonic. And the where I got onto this stuff, and it's only a sideline to what I'm doing really, is I read about in a book 4 years ago about what they call a de-land aerial that was being used in orchards, orange orchards in the USA. And they built these things through the orchards, and during the cold season, all the orchards had these things, and all the fruit didn't freeze, and they had no problems like that, and they had better growth, and healthier trees and everything like that. So just another hunch again. I thought, well, okay, they must be using some sort of universal energy, so I'll see what the dimensions of this aerial thing is. And basically, I just put up a pole about roughly 30 feet high, and I put some insulation discs around it, make it out of galvanised iron, and feed 7 wires around the disc. So this is the Earth's surface there. And they feed the wires underground about 18 inches, 2 feet, and then bring them along, and then up and out, and they face that bit there, and they leave an air gap here. And when it comes out here, they make this into a coil. And from what we were told in the ones in America, they got a magnet inside that coil. And that's all it is. But the interesting part was that this dimension of this one was 144 feet, which was the harmonic of the speed of light that I've been playing with. So I thought, well, somebody knows something. So I checked the geometry of the whole thing, and they had this pole, they said 30-foot pole. Well, they only got to make it 29 point something feet to make it very, very accurate. And then find that angle there, and you come up with 69545,205, which is the gravity harmonic, and the reciprocal of the light harmonic. So obviously whoever built that thing knew. And why it works, I think, is the fact that the Earth's magnetic field is not static. If it was static, it wouldn't work. But if any of you know anything about electronics, if you've got an alternating field, that thing would act like a transformer thing that would create another field, a secondary field in this thing. So I think you've actually got probably a field around it like this somehow. And the fact that it's tuned in the gravitational harmonics and light harmonics must have some reaction on the cells of the plant itself, because a cell is an electric circuit itself. And this is comes back to Lakhovsky's healing and all this sort of stuff, that he found that each cell has got its own harmonic frequency. If you're sick, well, they're out of kilter. So that's what he invented, this multi-wave oscillator, and tuned into all the harmonics of your body. And I think this is exactly what it does to plants and trees and shrubs and anything put in that field. And it's actually tuned into all this thing. So anyway, I published that little bit in one of the books. And one of our co-pilots years ago, he built a quarter-size one in Christchurch in New Zealand and planted lettuce in it and a few other things, and he found that the growth more or less went in a cycle like this, each side. As it was, you got a big lettuce here and goes back smaller, and they weren't as healthy. And outside they just normal. So, which proved that the field definitely has some sort of result on the growth rate and healthier plants. So, pardon?
What book is that in?
695, I think.
Yeah. There's actually some info on the wall there, I think, about it.
Mm.
And 695 is in the tent. And I'd like to mention one other point. Bruce might correct us.
Sure.
This wire coming up here, doesn't the angle actually turn here? Because
yeah, you're probably right there. I just threw that quickly. To get the exact angle,
yeah,
it should come from there.
take
Yeah.
a copy of it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it should be like that. You've got to bring it up through the ground like that. Yep, that's right. So anyway, that's basically the theory, that that gadget is acting like a transforming arrangement. And if you're looking down from the top, you've got the pole there and those seven radials coming out there. And I've tried to find it on the computer why they picked 7, and I've never been able to find out exactly why there's 7 of them there. And I thought maybe because everything is happening in spirals and not perfect circles. Maybe if those 7 things were divided into the spiral, which is larger than a 360-degree circle. And I still couldn't find the exact sort of time. So when sort of Robert contacted me, and Robert's built one, and I thought there must be some other way of improving that initial design. So I thought, well, if they're using that gravity field, they're going to make one act better, or what if we intensify that gravitational field and added a bit more onto the Earth one and made it a bit stronger? So what I decided was to do exactly the same thing, only put 24 radials out around the thing, and where the hole is in the centre here, and you've got all your wires coming down and out like that, well, put a little generator in there, with a 6-volt battery and something in an oscillator, and tune it to that 7.82 frequency, which is the gravitational frequency, because when you convert that 7.82, which is natural Earth frequency, you get 695 again, which is built into the aerial anyway. But enhance it by feeding it into the aerial. And that's only a theory. I'll be interested to see if it works. Maybe somebody will try it. And yeah, I made a diagram for Robert here, and I made some copies if anybody is interested. They can copy it. But I don't say it'll work. But in theory, to me, it should work if you enhance that field and pump more of that gravity factor in there, and possibly it will maybe make them a bit more healthy, or help a bit, or maybe they'll grow a bit better. I don't know.
What about the uniformity of the growth factor? Like it steadily grows up.
It seems to be, as you get closer to the centre, it seems to be better. It's sort of like that sort of thing. Pardon? I don't know. It's we're still in an experimental stage. This is a sideline to me. Robert knows more about this. He can probably tell you more than I do. And he's tried it. And, Robert will probably tell you, what his results have been, and whether it does enhance anything, or whether it is better, or do the plants react better in the field. And it's more over to you growers, the ones that grow things. I can only show you what I think. Maybe it doesn't work. The better one, I don't know. But I still think if you pump that and resonate it at that 7.82 frequency, it must work. And it's, if you're going to strengthen that gravity field. So, pardon?
It's possible to boost that so you get uniform growth from one end to the other end.
Yeah, well, there are probably ways, but you'd have to experiment to find them, because I don't know how to do it yet. Maybe I can find out more later, but this is a start anyway. The thing works, because they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars in the States, and the people who have got them are getting better production than the ones that haven't.
Orange orchard.
Orange growth, yes. They're quite common over there, evidently.
Those people, did you say?
Well, it was called a DeLand aerial, so it must have been DeLand that designed it. But I'm quite sure that he must have known some of this secret research. And
actually buy them in kit forms now in the States, the aerials. But, remember we're only touching the tip of the iceberg. And,
yeah, it's just a start. But this is called electroculture. But there's another thing you can do, and this is, I've got a copy of the book here, but if you've got a sick plant, say a sick shrub, and all you've got to do is put a coil around it, crop coil, and hook it onto a non-conductor, and just put it around your plant, and then make it a certain diameter, make it harmonic. Well, again, that earth field is not a static field, it's a resonating field. So that, put it here, so the plant's there and the coil's around. Well, you've got a field range, which is tuned to the gravity field. And I've tried one at home on a plant that for 2 seasons it was completely dead. I was going to chop it out, and it was dead wood, brittle, and no moisture or anything. And I put one of those around. It took 2 seasons, and the thing had green leaves on it in 2 seasons. And just with that simple little coil around it. And that's another. I think I got the thing. But he actually put it around plants with cancers on them. There was a plant there and had great big nodules on it. You put one of the cords around, the thing dropped off and the car could help you. So there's definitely things you can do, and use the alternating field that's all around you. I mean, you're living in it. So enhance it, and you've got better growth and healthier things. But,
30 centimetres is the master measurement to start with those coils. Lavoisky came to that through a lot of experiment, but you take 30 centimetres and then you can double it till you lost it. But
That's diameter, is it?
yeah, you get cross-sectional areas, and that's, you get that field. And all these types of things, the ultimate one is the one that you tune properly. If you just chuck the core in it, it'll work. You'd get better growth, but it wouldn't be perfect. It's the one that's tuned. And the thing is, you've got to calculate the best parameters for it. But it's all new stuff. So it's not really new. It's old stuff, but it's not been known. There's only a few people who used it.
Bruce, there's quite a few people, farmers here, and I was just wondering on their behalf, perhaps, if there's any other things in agriculture that might be useful to us to sort of work on.
Well, I'm up to at the moment. There might be other stuff, but I have read other books where they've just strung wire along a post, you know, and grown beans or anything on it, and they electrify that. And even if you did that and pumped electricity in that and alternated at that 7.82 frequency, you'd probably get results on that as well. And probably not as good if it's tuned properly, but I think you'd get some results. And actually, you can make up a grid. Just put posts along and make up a grid network somehow and pump power into it. But you've got to alternate it at the right frequency. Actually, the Americans were going to bury lines under the earth, and I think I put it in one of the books too. And the grid under the ground was 130 miles, I think. But again, when you took the square of that, well, you got 169,444, and they were going to use that to communicate with submarines, and they published that. And that's 16944 again. So the Navy's using it, and they tuned right in. What I needed to check tally was a very, very accurate survey map. Well, this was the map, and here's the tally area here, and I found from the map there that it's right on 18 degrees. Well, the latitude alone is a very, very good latitude to work with. Again, if you're working in harmonics, well, you've got 18 degrees, and you multiply it by 6. Have a look at my notes here. Yeah, multiply it by 6 twice, not just multiply by 6, multiply by 6, you're pushing it up the scale, harmonic scale, on the circular measurement. Well, you get 648. Well, the square of that is that 25455844 figure built into the grid system, which is the reciprocal of the Earth's magnetic field. So you've got a direct harmonic right through tally around that area where all this is happening. And Stogel tells me that there's been over 650 ground markings. It's not only latitude, the longitude also gives you another one. Right through, this comes right into tally on the longitude. Right on the edge of the field, 146 degrees. Well, I found 145, 58, 56, which is only 1 mile right in the tally area. It brings you right into the area there where they all are. And you end up with 269,35706, which is the answer to the unified equation for gravity. If you feed that gravity factor into the unified equation, that's the answer you get. And that's what you get as tally for the longitude. So you've got the magnetic field on the latitude, you've got the unified equation on the longitude. So it's obviously a very, very active position to work with, and for what they're doing there, I don't know. But I've got a sneaking suspicion it's not all outsiders. I'm pretty sure there'll be other people involved. They're up to something, or we're doing experiments, or frightening people.
I did send this map to you, it was the last map, wasn't it?
That's the one.
73, I got the degrees. And the map was done up. So now I'm still being 99.5% that I'm correct of the sightings in tally. Bruce has said that I'm 100% right.
Yep, yeah, exactly right.
Thank you very much. Yes, in the tally area we've had approximately 650 sightings of UFOs. A lot of these have been daytime craft sightings. People think it's only been one or two. How many would you think have been in Kelly? Have you ever heard of it? No. So anyway, we've had over 27 years that I've been reporting on sightings to UFO societies, and they've gone overseas. We've had in the lagoons area, which is about 6 lagoons in the Euromode, we've had 86 markings. So it's just phenomenal and staggering really, and I'm shocked by it all. We've had a lot of Bigfoot sightings. We've had another odd prehistoric creature thing, but this is what's happening around the world, that we are, more or less getting in Bigfoot sightings in these areas. Have you heard of?
Bigfoot?
Yes.
Not here.
Yes. So they've been cigar-shaped and pencil-shaped and ordinary garden variety, 30 feet round circular crafts. Have you heard of George Pedley, seen the craft taking off from the lagoon? Nobody? No. Well, he was 25 feet away and saw the craft taking off from the lagoon. So it just did a wobble up, and then it stabilised itself, and it shot off in a southwesterly direction. So, I mean, that was big time around the world, really.
Yeah, they're busy, aren't they?
So we've had in one little lagoon, we've had about 54, and then we've had 5 other lagoon sightings, which adds up to be about 70, and then we've had markings around the town. So in all, it's a giant big picture, and it takes me weeks to tell you all everything.
Has anybody had any experiences with the people in the UFO?
Yes, I've had 6 being sightings altogether. 2 really from Ingham, but the rest in Tully area. And we've had a lot of metaphysical happenings to different people too.
Yeah.
People have sort of kept quiet, but they're speaking out now in the last few years.
Has this got any relationship with the power station project, do you think?
No. They've actually been coming since Aboriginal legend times, and they're called chickabooners. And the lights were seen by the tribes in the Tully area and Juramo and Mariappa. So they were familiar with them. But we've had just so many, low crafts, and we've had 2 near crashes. So there was a story that one did crash, and the government got onto it very quickly, but I've never been able to find out if that's really correct. But I've seen so many myself because I live on a hill and a wonderful view.
Wasn't the one that menaced a car coming down a highway there just not long ago? Was it there, or was that...
You mean a menace to...
No, one of these UFOs menaced a car.
Yes, we've had quite a few car sightings, yes, and we've had train. We've had a lot of loco sightings, loco men in the early hours, and they've been followed, and we've had one cargo, what do you call it, a freight train.
Freight train.
Mm-hmm. It was followed from about Tully to Ingham years ago, but we've had quite a few people that have had their cars followed. And we've had the green lights, the small ones, which are registering our discs. They take ground temperature, the level, whatever, and photograph. We watched for 3.5 hours one night in 1965. We saw them coming out of the sky towards my home, about 6 of us. And my nephew and I stuck it out from 8:30 till 5 midnight. And 3.5 full hours altogether watching them. And they were working in that Juramo area, the lagoon. And the lights were shooting off at tremendous speed and coming back to the mother crafts. They were landed on a grassy hill at the end of Mount Mackay, Tully. And I'm just so surprised at the giant big ones that have been around in the daytime. So at first I was really crazy and round the bend and so forth, but now I think the people are really waking up.
There aren't any photographs? Nobody's...
We did take a film on the lagoon. It was set up with a UFO detector, and when the spacecraft came down and was on the lagoon, I would say, it set up from the detector onto the camera, and so it was photographed. So it was sent away to Kodak's, and they had their agents working there. The film was taken from us. So we had it with the Minister of Defence or minister, what were the other ministers too?
Name's good, I do.
Minister of Air.
Minister of
I
Air.
think. So, yes, it was a real
CIA,
shock, really. So, to have got so much. But anyway, it's just, it's been going on for a long time and it will continue going on, I guess. And I'm glad that people are waking up now to the grid because that's the main issue in it all. We're being uplifted into a higher dimension through the golden grid above.
Going somewhere.
Yes. And so we'll be with it in the fifth dimension pretty soon. So that's pretty good. So anyway, I suppose I'll leave it up to you now. Thank you for letting me speak that little bit.
That's
But
fine.
I could go on for weeks, so I'll leave it at that.
No, I think the main thing is to believe everyone knows there's a lot of activity around. It's obvious that the Tully story hasn't got out as it should. So,
I think that's what Bruce up here mentioned. The authorities know it's a power plot. That's the reason they want to build a
could be, yeah.
power station.
Possibly.
Well, it just seems so sort of, power, you know, like it's been such an issue, you know.
Yeah, big issue. And
Yeah, it's interesting to see where it goes. But, oh, anyway, is there any more of electric culture they want to talk about before we drop that one?
Sort of getting back to what you were talking before with your grid modules, I mean, we all sort of agree that sort of power, beneficial power at these points. Because it sort of stands to reason to me that there's also negative areas as well as positive areas. Have they been calculated, or
I wouldn't say so much negative areas as areas that are not as powerful. In other words, they're not harmful, but they're not as good. You don't get as good a result. I don't think. I can't.
Are they in the centre of the squares? I mean, from a farming point of view, it's good.
Yeah, but well, put it this way: I couldn't imagine a creator creating a world where some parts of it you stand on will harm you. It wouldn't add up to me. Because that's all it is. We're talking about gravitational power. It's only gravity.
Yeah, but like in the bush, there's areas where the trees tend to be deformed. And
Yeah, but I think that's more what's in the ground. The same in New Zealand. There's an area just south of Auckland, down south a bit, and they have got the highest incidence of cancer. And the story is that it's highest incidence because underground they've probably got a lot of uranium and stuff, like a radioactive material. And this is probably the same with trees and plants and everything else. It's what's underneath the surface. It's nothing to do with gravity or light or anything. It's the other bits, the elements that are involved. So no, I couldn't imagine any harmful place on the earth that are just because you're there. I say they're harmful because there's radioactive elements or something else there. It's a different thing altogether.
Just before Smoko, you were saying about this all seemed to be leading to the unified field theory. Do you have anything more to say about that?
Well, I would say that is the unified field theory. But they say that they haven't found it. And they said Einstein never found the unified field theory. He wanted to find it, but he didn't. And, well, he did. And they had that information for years. And those equations are unified equations. That's unified field. But I haven't discovered anything fantastic. I've just found out what they know. And long ago I thought, yeah, gee, I'm discovering things, excited. And then I found out the scientists all around me were doing the same thing. And I thought, gee whiz, this is not new. It's been right through history. They've known this. And if you go back to those Chinese pyramids, whoever built those pyramids knew this. So they've always been around. Right back probably millions of years ago. And if you look at the archaeology and all that, the further they dig down, the higher the civilization. And you check it, it's a fact. And they're finding fantastic things that either don't go down. There's one particular place over around Africa or something I read years ago, and they were amazed when they dug to another layer, and the civilization that was about 100 feet further down was higher than the one they found here. And that was on record, it's been written up. And the stuff they're finding under on the seabed, and all those great big colossal buildings in Greece, they can't build buildings like that today. You've never seen a Colosseum or what do they call it, and all that stuff. And how did they get those great big things on the top of those columns and bigger than houses? And they're all ornate and carved and everything. How do you get them up there? And those columns are probably, 100-something feet high. Great big round, monstrous things.
Like those things at Easter Island, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all right
there's all
saying
sorts of things.
Haredale said that they carved them out of the mountain there, but and they walked them. He's given all his theories about walking them, but I've been there, and there's one part there with the top knots. There's some of these idols have top knots on them. Now the top knots are about as big as this, and how the hell did they get the top knots up on top of the things, you know?
Well, they built a rep up there.
And the top knots,
on.
yeah, they're not even in that same area of where they're carved out. Different stone altogether.
Yeah.
In a different area, and I mean miles away, you know. It's just sort of, I don't know.
The pyramids, they say, they roll those big blocks over there on log rollers. If you put a big block of stone on one of those things on a log roller and on sand and try and roll it, you know. And this is the theory, though. They're supposed to be really serious, you know. And how do they get them up the top? Well, they build great big ramps up, and they had thousands of slaves on rapier ropes, you know, pulling them through that slope. So where did they put them all? You know?
Well, they wouldn't have had enough people there to do all these.
Well, how do they feed them?
You know, on that island, it's you know, there's 3 lots of civilizations that evolved there. But even on only the size of that island, they wouldn't have had enough people to have lifted that.
There's no way.
So it's got,
So even construction, those big blocks, are big, massive blocks, big as a car, some of them,
Yeah.
and they're joined so accurately, you can't get a cigarette paper between them. And there's no way any stonemason today can make a surface on a block of stone that accurate, and so that you can't see the adhesive in between. They can't do it. With all the technology we've got today, they can't build a pyramid. Remember the Japanese tried and put those funny looking blocks all on top of each other and walked away? And it looked like a kiddie car compared to that. There's nothing they can do like those things today.
Is there any chance at all that previous civilizations, which are far more advanced than we are, could they have discovered the anti-gravitational forces?
Oh yes, well they would have to know. If they knew this mathematics, they knew the whole lot. Yeah, they would have to know.
Maybe this was the
pyramids, also statues and other things.
Yeah, the pyramids have got all those figures in them. And you can buy the books, and they're there. But I've got 4 copies on the Great Pyramid at home, and I've got one of the old ones. Goes right back to someone mentioned his name. I can't stop it in the tongue. Yeah, the Cheops Pyramid, but the guy who did the original measurements. So very, very smart. But you can't buy those books now. The later versions have got a lot of those figures taken out of them, and they've given you the bigger bones. But I've got the ones with the early ones and all the measurements. And when you convert them into all those, with 16944 and 41136s, and King's Chamber's all tuned to that, and it's the height of it, and where it is, and positioning, and everything. And there's no way they can be charged. It's so accurate. So it's so new.
Maybe this is the 5th dimensional that Claire was talking about. We might have had it before and we're on our way back again.
Well,
possible?
I look at it differently because I'm a very practical guy, I think. And I think our reality is always going to be exactly the same as it is right now. But we're getting more knowledge, and knowledge is going to uplift you, from my point of view. And if you go to another dimension, you're going to leave this one, you're going to be somewhere else.
Doesn't explain the pyramids, like how you were building the pyramids, as you was talking about, does it? That doesn't explain how they built the pyramids.
Well, they built them with super science. They built them with science. If they had that mathematical knowledge, they had the knowledge of anti-gravity. And they could lift those blocks and do anything they like with
did
it.
it mentally or something like that?
No, machine. It's in some of the writings that the high priest, they had a thing and they used to dong the block and it would lose weight. There was some sort of device they had. And they'd touch the stone and it would resonate and it would float. And it would float. They said it would float at a bow shot. Or if you slung an arrow, that's about it, half hour went, and they'd give another dong and it would float a bit more. And they shifted along like that. And just lost weight for a little period of time and then settled down again. And they had all this stuff. And all they needed was a resonator. And if they cut those blocks to certain cubic dimensions, so they were resonating at the same right frequency, well, all they've got to do is use a resonator and it works. And that's like a UFO. A UFO is built like a symbol. If you want a certain note of music on a cymbal, well, it's cut at a certain distance, a certain diameter and thickness and metal. Well, the UFO is the same, and that's why I don't believe that guy in America who says he funneled gravity waves down tubes. The one that's supposed to have worked on them. That chap, and the whole thing's got to be enveloped in that gravity field. And you can't just put it down one little bit of it and expect it to do all the things it does. It's got to be the whole thing. It's got to tune the whole vehicle. That's why they're round, that's why they're circular, it's like a cymbal. And they resonate.
So they resonate to a certain frequency, and the frequency that's being amplified from the power line sort of reacts with that and gives you
That is true, a harmonic jump. Just a harmonic jump. As soon as I jump one, we're out of our reality. You can't see them, but they're still there. They're still four-dimensional in that reality. But they're out of our reality. Like I was saying before, it's like in an atom. If you impart energy into an atom, well, the actual electron, you've got the atom here, an electron here, and it's separating. You impart energy, well, that jumps up to the next higher level, and you get different levels. And when you take the energy away, it jumps back, and every time it jumps back, it emits a photon. So you get a stream of photons. And, okay, let's go to lasers. Now, you look at a textbook on lasers, it'll tell you that a laser, you have to pump energy and to bring the energy up. But as soon as you hit 694 angstroms, it starts to laze, which is a reciprocal speed of light. So what they're doing, they're pumping the energy up till they hit the reciprocal speed of light. That creates anti-photons. So to maintain symmetry, you must have a flow of photons on this side of reality. So that's what a laser is. It creates photons. And it's very simple, but that's in the textbooks. A laser when it gets to 6.44 angstroms. And an angstrom is 1 metre to the minus 31, I think, or something. So, and when you bring that into geometrics, you get 69444. An angstrom is based on that unit. So science is using this all the time. But it's right in laser theory, in laser working. And one of the best lasers is the gallium arsenide laser. The harmonic mass, I think, of gallium is 69.4. Lithium, they're using lithium batteries, space shops. You look at the tables, on the tables the actual figure is 6.94. They pick out these elements that give you these different harmonics. And they're the ones that are purely active. Transmission wires made out of aluminium. If you look at aluminium, it gives you 26.9 something to 98. If you pick out the right isotope, you 269.444. And you've got a perfect electrical conductor. So if you know these things, you can be like an alchemist, and you can pick your elements and combine them and get all sorts of things. And I've talked to a scientist, and they're experimenting right now using this information in a superconductor. So just on power, probably a final thing, Tesla car, he built that in the 1930s. And he ripped the motor, it was a Pierce Arrow car, he ripped the motor out of it and put his own design electric motor in it. And he had a gizmo under the dashboard, and it wasn't very big evidently, it was just a box with his stuff in it, and an arrow which was 1.8 metres long. And he was sucking gravitational power right out of the atmosphere, direct, pumping it through the box and into the motor, and he's getting 90 miles an hour out of the car. And that's on record. I've got a copy of the paper there. It's a page out of the book. It's a German book. It cost me $100 to get a copy. But I just wanted that one page for that all. And now he done it all that time back, and it's been all hushed up. And this is what we are trying to do now with this knowledge, is find that information again so we can use direct gravitational power. And Tesla called that a gravitational engine. That's what he said, it's a gravitational motor. He was tapping that gravity harmonic. So there's nothing new. And this is our next step practically. We're hoping to reproduce that box. And I mean, you can build generators and motors and what you like to do those things, but it's a lot easier if you just put a box up like a radio and just get out there. And you don't have to have anything going around or wires or anything. It's the box. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're quietly doing behind the scenes, trying to get that far, but
then they won't let you use it.
well, they can't stop it if you don't patent a thing like that. You just build things and sell them.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
But it's been done before. Murray did it, Henry Murray. And he was a Mormon, and he was crucified. They tried to kill him, they shot him, and they did everything to him. He built his box. The description is exactly the same as Tesla. He did the same thing. But he picked up a bit of crystal rock or something in the desert, and he used that just like a crystal in a crystal set. And he made his little circuit and hooked it all up, and he was doing the same thing. But he had an aerial for about 200 feet long out in the yard, and fed it in, and he was running irons and electric heaters and everything just off this aerial in the backyard. And, Helen?
What was his name again?
Henry Murray. His sons are still trying to reproduce his work, but they can't. But the story is that he was the first man who used a transistor. What he was doing, the first thing he picked up acted as a transistor. But he didn't know what it was. And he didn't call it a transistor. In modern day, they're using exactly the same type of germanium crystals, probably as transistors. So, but he managed to put it into a circuit that gave him free electricity. So, and the story again was that after all his problems, he lost the last bit of the material he had, and he couldn't reproduce anymore because he didn't know the basis of it. He could make it work, but he didn't know anything else. If he could have found another piece of crystal the same, he would have been alive. So it's not new. Again, it's not new. It's been done. And if it's been done, we can do it again. But the thing is now to do the work to find out how. But so that's the point too. How does a crystal set work? Any of you ever had a crystal set? Simple radio. There's no batteries, no nothing. It's just a piece of wire, a couple of coils and a crystal. And you can tune into stations all around the place with it. And I've asked several scientists, I said, where does the crystal set get its energy from? Because it's got to get from somewhere. And they said, oh, it's broadcast from the station. Yeah, but if you go back into your pure theory, I said the next question is, how many crystal sets can you run off that station? And they can't answer that because you can run an infinite number of crystal sets off it. And if their theory is right, you'd suck the station dry. But you don't. The station still pumps out power exactly the same. So all the crystal set is doing is modifying the signal and getting its energy from the universal field, the gravity field. So if you know how a crystal set works, it's not very far to go to the next step and do a marine machine, but it's only an intensified crystal, a tuned crystal. I don't think there's a lot of technology we've got to find to reproduce that stuff. There's energy all around you, and you tap it anywhere you like. Go out in the middle of space anywhere out there and it's there, it's gravity energy. You know, gravity is a reciprocal of light. You've got light energy, you've got gravity energy. Well, that's one of the things they're going to do out in space here with out of a gravity-less environment, zero gravity environment, because that's one of their problems with their high frequency stuff. They can't crystal lock it properly because they can't get perfect crystals. So the only way they get a perfect crystal is to grow it out in space where there's no gravity, where they've got zero gravity, because gravity distorts your crystal as it grows. So that's been in the papers, that's what they're going to do. They don't say completely why. They don't say that they're having trouble with their crystal-like high-frequency transmitters and receivers. They have to have this technical knowledge. Actually, there's another thing. I asked, again, the CIA guy, I said, after I found a lot of this stuff, I said, but why isn't this taught at university? And he just grinned, he said, it is. And I said, you're kidding, no way. I said, how? And I said, here, I've spent years finding this. And if I knew it was taught in university, I could have learned it all in 6 months. And he reckons that as all the students come in, they're vetted. And they keep an eye on all the brilliant ones. You know, really brainy students. And they look at them over the years, through the university life, and when they think it's right, they approach them. And they sign them in, they go and they suck them out and they send overseas and they start working on this stuff. They've got to keep the nucleus going. I mean, all the other guys are going to die after a while. They've got to keep new brains coming in. And so otherwise, okay, the universities are teaching this stuff. They're only to selected people.
We in turn can become UFOs to other life forms. Our space craft.
Well, I think so. We will start going out there and poking around and getting in everybody's way. And causing chaos on another planet. They'll be saying, who are these guys, you know? They'll be us. So, it goes on and on and on, and we're going to be just as the same as this in the future. Might be another 1,000 years, but that's what's going to happen.
I noticed this morning when you just on the side, you said something about beneath, I forget the exact whole area you're talking about. So I noticed that, and our scientists are taught from other fellows outside.
Yeah, there's a lot of interrelationships there. It's just not them out there and us down here. A lot of the stories you don't know if they're perfectly true, but when you see it all in bulk over years and then feed it into this stuff, well, to me it's obvious that they've got a connection with outside. They have to. They couldn't do everything they're doing unless they had. And it's, I don't know which are the best stories and which are the true ones, perfectly true, but I know basically the fact that they've got contact with them is a fact. You know, it's a true thing. How much I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they're being taught a certain amount of things. I don't think they're going to teach our guys everything because that would be too dangerous. They'll teach them enough and watch them and see how they do it. If they handle it right, they might give them a bit more. But I don't think they've read us out in the deep space yet. No, they don't want us out there. We're too brutal and everything, you know, and mad. And if we try to get out there too early, they'll stop us. And they probably won't do it a bad way, they'll just do it quietly and just mess up their technology somehow. They won't allow us.
We might mention here, to expand the mind a bit more, Trevor Constable's work, simply through the means of infrared photography, which is a higher spectrum than the eye sees. And we all know the old saying is, I can't see it, therefore it's not there. But through infrared goes up to a higher spectrum. Trevor Constable for many years has been photographing these what he calls critters, or biological UFOs, but these living entities that are there in these spectrums. He photographs them, anyone can do it. In his book, The Cosmic Pulse of Life, tells you how to go about it, the camera, and all this sort of thing. Again, it's like he's starting to travel the world now, give talks on it. Hopefully we'll get him here in the spring. But just like psychics will tell you, why don't we have psychic sight? Well, some of these animals and creatures can be pretty scary. Again, you've got to be ready in consciousness to start seeing these things, or it's withheld for your own good. Sounds logical to me.
Actually, I found that when you get to the level when that knowledge is essential for your next step, it seems to appear somehow. And that's what I said, I use this stuff behind the scenes, because I know how it works now. And when I come to a brick wall, that's happened hundreds of times over the years, I know all I've got to do is stop, not worry about it anymore, pack everything up, walk out, go out in the garden, and wait for a week or so. And I guarantee you that either I go into the library and I pick up a book, I get something through the mail, or I hear a conversation somewhere, and it's just that one little snippet of information will give me another 6 months' work, and they're waiting. But you've got to be aware of it though. If you want to know something, and you do things right, and you believe you're doing it for the right reasons, you're given knowledge and that. It goes a lot of ways.
Bruce, can you tell us anything about the Philadelphia experiment and teleportation materialising and that?
Yeah, well, see, that's another word. When these guys are doing experiments, it's a technological experiment. And teleportation is a different thing again. So I'd say transposition in space-time. This is what they did. Teleportation would be what a psychic would do. So you've got two different areas. But again, I talked to the CIA guy and I asked him straight out, I said, did they do that experiment? Because everything else I've done showed they did. And they did good. Of course they did. And, but he said it went horribly wrong. Because they only knew a certain amount, and he said a lot of those guys are still in the well. They're still locked up. They were completely crazy. Because all their fields were not perfect. And they carried it out, and I think just appeared in Norfolk, and they got it back again. And they did sort of shift it in space-time. And they did it several times. I went out in the ocean off the coast and I tried it again. And the two boats were each side of it. All I could see was the depression in the water where the hull was, but I couldn't see the boat. And they were the first experiments, I think, in anti-gravity and dimensions. And if this guy had told me in that laboratory that they was working in 15 dimensions, they did it. They knew that the CIA guy put the icing on the cake. He admitted it. He said, yeah, they did. But it was horribly wrong, and they had to go back and recalculate everything, and of course the parts of the ship would not be harmonically tuned and all that sort of thing, and bits, and I think one guy, when they brought it out of the field, his arm was sticking out of a wall. He'd walked into a wall and they brought it out of the field, he was stuck in there, and his arm was sticking out, and he was in there, and he died a horrible death, you know. And I think it was a restaurant, some of the guys afterwards, they were going in and out of this when they come out of it, and sort of alternating, and they walked in the restaurant, and one guy just walked through the wall, and he'd never been seen since. That's one of the stories, or whether that's true, I don't know, but it could happen. Wouldn't you think what they're playing with? But this is why all this experiment's going on. They've got to be 100% correct. When you're dealing with this stuff, it can't be 99%, because you're going to leave something behind. And you've got to resonate that thing so that every element in that vehicle is worked on. And if one of them is out of kilter, well, you're going to end up with a hole in the spacecraft and it's left behind. You're out there something. Well, I don't think they have years ago. Yeah, but this was back in 1943 or 43, yeah. But, if they could do that in 1943, what do they know now? You know, it's amazing. They've got high-power computers, the best scientists and best brains, mathematicians. And it's actually a friend of one of the friends of my son has been sucked in, we think, because this sort of thing happened to him. He was brilliant, you know, top and everything, and it was just a breeze for him, just flew to university. Next thing, he's got a summons, he's sort of overseas and sent off overseas to the States. And, he's been picked in. He's brilliant. They need him. But it's nothing against the guy. I'll pat him on the back. He's in there, he's into the new technology. But he's not responsible for the reception and all that sort of thing. He's a scientist. I know what I'd like to be doing if I was a scientist. I'd like to be in it. Is that it? That's your supper.
Thank you.